This is episode 213 of the Illustrious Gentleman podcast. That's Scott. I'm Ryan. We're two comic book artists who do this podcast, and we talk about comics, freelancing, movies, TV, and other nonsense. And we normally have a drink while we do it. Scott, what are you drinking tonight?
I stopped by my local Total Wine after my therapy appointment today, as you do.
Sure.
And I got a can of
Butter.
Oh, it's not registering. Buttercream Chardonnay.
Ooh.
Because you're always telling me about how some of them are buttery, and I think it's a disgusting descriptor for a beverage.
I was talking to my wife about it a couple of weeks ago, and she said red wines are described as buttery, not white wines. But then I had a Chardonnay, and when I read the description, it described itself as buttery. So
it's in the fucking name.
That's right. That's right. So for people that are just tuning in, I'm recording outdoors again. Sorry, Hank, the producer, but you know what? I am. So I'll try to mute my mic when I see a plane go behind me. I'll try to mute the mic, but it is, when I say it's nice, it's like 85 degrees outside right now, which is heaven. So is that like a cocktail wine, or is it a wine? Is that a 13% wine, or is it like a 5.5 or something?
No, this is a wine 2019, whatever difference that makes. Yeah, wine, 375 milliliters, like a can is. I swear I saw it somewhere on here. Oh, it's 13.5.
Nice.
But yeah, so a sip of the buttercream.
Too sweet.
I get it.
All right.
It's not a word that I would have chosen. I would not have plucked out of the ether to describe it. But now that it's in my noggin, I understand why it's associated.
All right. I am drinking. I'm proud of you. I'm excited that you're doing that. I am drinking a because as we're all on our own journeys to be better humans, I'm drinking a personal journey pale ale from Chapman Brewing in. Sorry, I got no light out here. Somewhere in California.
Chapman, California.
Well, that would make sense, but there's like 3 words to it, so it's not Chapman, California. Oh wait, Orange, California. Sorry about that.
3 words.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a pale ale. It's 5.7%. Notes of tropical melon and it's got international notes. Whatever the fuck that means, it's got those
international notes.
International notes. So I have this, but I'm also sipping on I took my Santan Caramello bourbon or whiskey, and I mixed it with some Wild Turkey 101 to cut the sweetness. I made my own blend, if you will.
And
it's I'd be lying to both of you, you and Hank, the only two who listen to this podcast, and you don't even listen to it. I'd be lying to both of you if I said this was my first one. But I enjoy it. So I like flavored bourbons. I like honey whiskeys.
I've never done that.
But they're a little.
I've never crossed the streams.
Yeah, well, good things happen sometimes. Sometimes it could mean the end of the city, but other times it could be good things. Because sometimes the flavor, like this Caramello whiskey, it's delicious, but it's a little much, like just a hair too sweet for me. So you cut it with some straight up bourbon. It's delicious. But we're here to talk about the personal journey we're all going on today, and it's a pale ale.
I think 101's plenty sweet.
Yeah, but I mean, it still cuts the sweetness of a sweet whiskey. That's for damn sure. Go to tigshow.com to find out all the links to support the podcast. There's a merch link. There's a Patreon link. There's a buy us around link. All sorts of good shit. We were on a solid roll of a couple of weeks of people buying us around, and we got nobody this week. So hop on board, people. Yeah, tigshow.com has everything you need. Links to our Instagram, all that good shit. Get it.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. So as we do forced small talk before we get into our forced TIG talk. Yesterday I was on my walk around the state capitol area down here in downtown Phoenix, and I walked past a Union Hall, and I think it's for transit workers because we're kind of by the airport, or at least by one of the runways. It doesn't matter what it is. I can't remember what it is, but I was thinking, how cool would it be to have like a union hall for like creative freelancers? You could just swing by on your way after work and go get you pay your monthly dues, you hop in, you get a $2 PBR, you shoot the shit with, Joan, who's a painter, Philip, who's a sculptor. You're all just shooting the shit. You're bitching about clients, just like you're putting your feet up before you go home and got to make dinner and do the laundry, which freelancers, we do the bulk of the housework. I love my wife. So before you go home and do all that, you could stop by and shoot the shit and commiserate with other like-minded individuals. And then, when you travel, maybe there's a branch of that union. I don't know what they call them, but maybe there's another version of that union in like Detroit. So you go doing a show in Detroit, instead of going out to the hotel bars or the expensive fancy pants breweries, you just go to the Union Hall after Gym Con or whatever, and you Granite Con, and you get a little toasty. You had too many drinks, you watch the game, shoot the shit. Be fantastic. It's a brilliant idea, except that there's like 4 people. So the Union Hall would be like a pop-up trailer. It wouldn't have to be very large because there's 4 of us.
Right.
But I think that'd be great. Like it's my whole, like, every subdivision, like your subdivision that you live in should have someone in that subdivision should have their garage decked out as a bar, and you can just pop in after work and you pay a monthly fee, and you don't have to, you say you pay $25 a month, and there's always like beer in a cooler for you, or there's always like a bottom shelf well whiskey that you can just pull. You don't have to pay when you go there. You pop in, get a little buzz on before you go home and do the dishes. Like it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I suppose.
Or don't tell me you're against unions. Are you against unions now that you're a corporate?
No.
Now that you're a business owner.
We just don't have the numbers or the density of location.
I should have thought about this before I talked to a business owner about it. I'm a person of the people. I'm down here. I'm like the Goonies down here. But you're a big corporation. You're way up there. I should have known you wouldn't be into it.
Yeah, I think you can take your woke commie talk and take your ass back to China.
That's right.
How's that? You don't like America? Get the fuck out.
That's right. We should just be happy for what we get. Should be happy for the one chicken breast, the package of chicken breasts I get every week with mayonnaise, which Americans like for some reason. All right.
Also, freedom.
If you want your freedom, you have to take your mayonnaise. You can't have one without the other. You got to take your mayo if you're going to have freedom, because it's America. God damn it.
Freedom, man.
Yeah. All right. TikTok. Anything new? Anything you've been absorbing, ingesting, digesting?
I don't know. At some point, I guess we'll talk about Loki. I have not seen. I saw episode 2. I did not watch 1. I haven't watched 3 yet, but I watched 2.
Okay, I've seen 1 and 2, but I have not watched 3.
I do have thoughts based on 2.
Okay. Before we do our Loki specific show, I'm going to insist, as a small business owner to a large corporation, I'm going to insist that you watch the entire series if we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. No,
okay.
Absolutely. I'm not going to talk about it here right now.
Good.
I showed Sixth Sense to my 10-year-old just now for the first time. I don't think I had seen that movie more than once when it came out. So that was what, fucking, I think 99?
Yeah, probably 20 to 22 years ago, 23 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's a great script with great performances by a noticeable first-time director.
You son of a bitch.
It looks like a first-time movie.
You just
But everything other than the direction's great.
You can't let anybody win, can you? You can't just be happy. That's okay.
You're no, like he me. Gets better.
Yeah.
It's his first movie.
Well, he gets better.
It looks like a first movie.
He gets better before he gets bad again. Like he peaks quick. He's like a 13-year-old boy. He peaks very soon. And then
as a visual filmmaker, he continues to be good.
Right.
Even today.
Also,
but
let's remind our
storyteller.
Let's remind our fan that you like Signs. You like
I love Signs. Signs is his peak.
Okay. All right, cool.
And he continued to peak into like 5/6 of The Village before it just fell off the table at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And you can see on film the minute where his career just goes.
It's like I can tell that page on Dark and Bloody, that panel where you switch to digital.
Right.
You can tell in The Village where Bryce Dallas Howard just came too much for him, so he just threw his hands up in the air and quit directing.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah. Cool. How did your
somebody stop him?
How did your protege enjoy the film, seeing as how he grew up on modern movies? Was he bored? I imagine he was bored looking forward.
No. So the 10-year-old had been asking to see this because
I'm sorry.
They enjoyed Signs so much.
I thought you were I thought you were showing it to your oldest child. But
oh no, he would not give a fuck.
Right, okay.
And I would show the 10-year-old Unbreakable, but I think they'd be bored to tears.
Okay. All right. So they enjoyed Signs because they wanted to bond with their father and they thought this is the only way. So then you forced them to watch Sixth Sense.
No, they asked to do it.
All right.
This was their thing.
So how was it received?
Well, they liked it. It wasn't, I think I probably sold it as being scarier than it was, which is a pro-parent move, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, but no, it's a really good movie. What's his fucking face? Haley Joel Osment. He was nominated for an Academy Award for that movie, I believe.
I think you're
as
correct.
Supporting actor.
I think you're correct in that.
Him and Toni Collette fucking crushed that movie. She's great.
Sorry, I muted my mic. Yeah, I muted my mic because a plane went behind me. I guess I got to do this now for the edits.
And Bruce Willis. It was startling to remember that he was an actor once upon a time.
Yeah, I like Toni Collette. I think she's great in everything. You know, I forgot she was the mother in that.
Yeah, she is great in everything, which is no surprise. But
yeah, once you see
her and him were the best part of the movie.
What was the movie that she was in that broke her out? That Australian movie about a wedding?
Oh, I have no idea.
It was Toni Collette's first American movie. Fantastic though. I can't remember the name of it now. Shit. Sorry, everybody.
No idea.
Sorry, Hank. Don't edit that out, Hank.
Anyway, that's all I've been consuming.
All right. Speaking of Hank, I've been consuming Suns playoff basketball.
Oh.
And I made the decision now. I made the decision now that even though he didn't play great in the last game, Devin Booker has taken my favorite Booker spot. Like he's now my number one. He's now my number one Booker.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry, Richard Greico, but he really. I mean, he's a guy, and everyone's afraid because as we record this, when you listen to it, it'll already happen because that's how radio works. But as we listen to this tomorrow night, he's playing. And apparently everybody who plays with a face mask on has an insane game. So now everyone's terrified that he's going to put a mask on because he might have broken his nose last night.
Yeah, I guess I seem to remember something about that. Derrick Rose, I think.
Yeah, I think
in face mask.
I think LeBron.
Was it Chauncey Billups with the Pistons played with the face mask?
Someone with the
Lakers.
Yeah, someone with the Pistons wore it all the time, even when they weren't injured.
Oh, Bill Lambier for the Bad Boy Pistons.
Yeah, and I
Wore
think
a face mask
I think
'cause he's a
LeBron
fucking psycho.
I think LeBron might have played a playoff game or two with the mask on. So shit's gonna
It's just like it's like the Mask, the comic, The Mask. It just accentuates.
Right. I mean, you got to give up part of your soul to wear it, but
Makes you more you.
what's 10% of your soul to win an NBA championship for a city that is starved for championships?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's been 20 years since this city, sorry, Phoenix Mercury. It's been 20 years since this city has had a major sports championship. It's time, people.
Yeah, I'm trying to not get too excited. After the Nets lost, they were the only team that I was like, oh, they could be a problem.
I saw some of
but I'm not afraid of the Bucks. I'm not afraid of the Hawks.
No,
and they've got
yeah.
After the end of game 2, I mean, there's nothing else you can do to hurt them.
No, I saw. I was watching Sports Center earlier tonight while my wife was doing dishes because that's how we do it in this house. And I saw the highlights from Game 1 between the Hawks and the Bucks, and my first thought was, "We got it."
Oh, what was the final on that? Who won that game?
I think the Hawks won it by 3.
Really?
I think the Hawks won it by 3.
See, I think they might be. They could be problematic.
They're sneaky good
because they don't know.
Yeah,
they feel like a team that just they don't know they're not supposed to be winning.
Yeah, like and I'm conflicted because if it is an Atlanta Phoenix, I mean, knock on wood, which this is fake wood. If it's an Atlanta Phoenix final, I mean, I'm a son of the South. I'm a grandson of Atlanta. My family is from Atlanta. What am I going to do? I'm going to root for the Suns, but
shout out the Hawks. The Hawks feel like a stupid teenage boy that just does stupid stuff just because he thinks he's invincible.
Yeah, he's gonna fuck around and just be great at everything he does because he doesn't know any better.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a backflip off of the house into the pool.
Yeah, and I was asking my wife, I said, I've never been to Milwaukee, but it strikes me as impossible that Milwaukee has 2 sports franchises.
What do you mean, 2 sports franchises?
It just seems like a city that shouldn't have anything, much less 2 professional sports franchises.
Oh, I guess, yeah, they only have 2. I would not be surprised if Milwaukee had more. I mean, they've got what I guess Green Bay doesn't count as a Milwaukee one. It belongs to the state.
Well, it also belongs to Green Bay.
What the fuck is Green Bay? It's a stadium.
It's not Milwaukee.
A couple of gas stations.
Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to pronounce the L according to my wife who lived in the Midwest. It's not Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
No, you don't pronounce it like that either unless you're.
Oh, no.
I think it's cultural appropriation. You say Milwaukee. No L. Milwaukee.
Oh, well.
But it doesn't matter.
If I learned anything from Wayne's World, it was the history of Milwaukee.
Okay.
From fuck. Who was it? Who was it in the movie?
Was it the donut guy?
No, it was Alice Cooper. That's who it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good time now that I'm offended Milwaukee. Milwaukee. Yeah, I just find it like I think I asked her, I said, is Milwaukee bigger than Mesa? And she's like, well, it's different, which implies no. So like our suburbs are bigger than a city that has 2 professional sports franchises, but we're already spending too much time on that because it's going to be Atlanta and Phoenix.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Good finals. So as I researched this today, as he replaced Richard Greico as my number 1 booker, I actually found out that Richard Greico is nowadays mostly known as an artist. Do you hear that noise?
I do.
Sounds like a snake. Richard Grieco's
like a movie snake.
His trouser snake is mostly known as an artist now. So I went to his
artist of what?
A fine painter. So I went to his quote unquote website. And it looks like it was written in HTML in like 2003. But so he has like these paintings, and I'm even going to throw air quotes on paintings. He's trying to do like a Pollock.
It's like W is a painter now.
Yes. No, but W does portraits. This is just shit thrown onto a canvas.
Oh, is he like a
Oh, he does
an abstract sort of?
No. Don't be silly. He does emotional abstracts.
Emotional abstracts. I
So
don't know that I've heard a more pretentious thing in my entire life.
I'm about to give you one here. So there's a link. One of the links says soul bottles. Okay. Which I have a totally different thought. When something says soul bottles to me, it's not what it is to him. So I clicked on the link and he takes, I guess, wine bottles and then paints them and
murders people.
But he doesn't take a clear wine bottle, like a fine wine, like a Bay Bridge, that's $3. He doesn't take a clear bottle. He takes a brown bottle. He paints the outside, not the inside, which what you could do with the clear bottle. So he basically just paints the outside of brown wine bottles, and he calls them soul bottles. And so let me just tell you what the website. I'm not going to speak for him. Let me tell you what the website says. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so bear with me.
A dramatic reading.
Though they are bottles, they are the perfect conduit for pure emotion. It is almost like having a small piece of life in your hands and molding it, whether it be emotionally, physically, or mentally. It's all from the purity of the soul. It is the perfect, unbridled, hands-on piece to connect with a person. And I also want to add, I put a comma in there that needed it that he didn't have on his website, nor did he have an apostrophe on its. But the best part of all this, Scott, the best part of all this.
Staying busy.
The best part of all of this is, by the way, I shared a photo with you. You saw he's staying busy. But what do you think these soul bottles go for? A bottle of wine, a bottle of wine, paint like someone throws paint at them.
Now, these are empty bottles, right?
Yes, there's no alcohol in the bottles. So this is how you know he's on top of his game, is that he polishes those bottles off and then he paints them.
Well, that's going to lower the value.
Well, I don't know.
I'm going to say
it's a flat rate.
$7.50.
You fucking ass clown. You fool. $1,800 for a soul bottle.
Okay. All right, sure. He's the dude at that table at the con that's like, I just need to sell one.
Yep. Yeah. And I dig it. I dig it. He's my third favorite, he's my fifth favorite undercover Jump Street cop. So you got the karate guy, you got Holly Robinson Pete, who married a football player. You have Dom DeLuise's son, and you have the Depp. He's my fifth.
Dom DeLuise Jr.
Yeah, Peter DeLuise. Let's not throw shade.
Oh, it's not even the famous one.
Well, there's both DeLuises at some point. Both DeLuise children at some point were on Jump Street, but the main one was Peter DeLuise.
I'm a Dom DeLuise.
Come on, knock it off. Next on my TikTok, I just want to give a shout out to a TV show that we talk about in the studio a little bit with Gonzo. Mr. Inbetween. It's available on Hulu. It shows on FX. So it's like an Australian a black comedy crime show. Some things going for it is it's charming as shit, and also it's only 30 minutes. It's like a 30-minute drama that's a comedy. But I researched the guy as we were watching it, and I just want to give a shout out. The actor's name is Scott Ryan. For one, I just now realized how prophetic that is. Just now as I read it. But the most interesting thing is,
have him on.
If you go to, well, I'm sure he'll want to be on. If you go to his IMDb or his Wikipedia, this character he plays is named Ray in the show, right? And he introduced this character Ray in a 2005 short film that he wrote and directed. Okay. His next credit is the 2018 TV show, Mr. Inbetween, where he plays the same character. He has 2 IMDb credits, the same character, 13 years apart.
Be sure you put his name in the episode description when you post this so it pops up in his Google alerts.
Yeah, so I just think it's fucking nuts that he didn't do anything for 13 years, and then he does this 3-season long FX show that is great. It's fantastic. He's like a spoiler alert. he's like a hitman with a heart of gold. So when he's around his friends and family, he's like the nicest guy he's like the best dad, the best brother, the best boyfriend. But then when he has to go to work, baby, he goes to work. He gets shit done. And he always looks like, you know how you and I always look like we're not smiling, even when we want to try to smile. People just think we're being shitty. He's the opposite.
Right, I'm smiling right now.
Yeah, he always. Oh, you look super happy right now. He actually, in every scene, he looks like he's smiling, even when he's doing like terrible shit. Like he just looks like he's always happy and smiling. And it's probably because he made one short film and then got signed to like a network show 13 years later. That would make me smile. If I didn't work for 13 years and then I got a series commitment from FX. Fuck yeah.
Nice.
So I recommend it. Like I said, it's 30-minute episodes. You can just knock them out. They're funny. They're not too dark, but shit happens. They're great. It's great. Great characters all around. There's a scene there. There's a scene in season 2 that involves the birds and the bees talks because he's a single father to a daughter. He has her on like weekends. There's a birds and the bees talk that it might be the funniest like 5 minutes of TV I've seen in like forever. And the name of the episode is "I Came from Your Balls?" ? So it's fantastic. And the young lady who plays his daughter in the series is fantastic. She might be the best young actress I've seen in a while. So everyone check out Mr. Inbetween.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other oh shit, did I mute you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I touched the screen and weird shit happened. All right. Any other bullshit before we get into the bullshit?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
No.
So I guess tonight's topic is loosely based, and the more I delve into this and I talk to people, it's a terrible topic because it's
because there's no controversy, there's no differing of opinion or whatever.
No, the topic seems like
a non-topic.
Well, that's every episode, but it's like we can generalize it, and this is very specific per person. It's not something you can generalize, so I think we're going to get into that. But it's how we look at other professional comic book creators. So in the instance of you and I, how we look at other people who do
Mostly
our jobs.
On Twitter.
Yeah, how we do our jobs. Yeah. Speaking of Twitter, I put a poll up yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. And it says, for a future TIG Show episode, which is a current TIG Show episode for those of you listening, to the comic professionals, how do you view other pros? Inspiration means just pure admiration. You know, you're just in all of them. Do you view them as competition where you would never recommend them for a job because you want their job? Or do you view them as equals or colleagues where you recommend and push people for work, right? Like you would say like, oh, I can't get that job. So but this guy can, and he's great too. So again, a terrible wording, terrible poll, but 8 terrible people did fill 8 people. That's how much reach I have on social media. 8 people did this poll, and 6, so 75% said inspiration. Just I love seeing other dudes do work. I love following along. 2 people said equals, where I'd recommend and push them for gigs, and no one viewed their colleagues as competition, which I feel like is bullshit. It was an anonymous poll, but I feel like people weren't honest.
I was a voter in that poll.
Okay, well, don't spoil it. Save it to the end. So yeah, I was this was something that was posed to us at one point on, I think someone mentioned it on a Facebook thread or something, because I threw it in our Google Doc for future episode ideas. So I don't remember who asked this question or where it came from exactly, but it didn't come from me. That's for damn sure. But I think it's a great topic. Like, how do you look at, I like the idea of it. How do you see other people in your same position? So I'm not saying like, the way I interpret this is I'm not talking about me and Alan Moore. I'm talking about me and another colorist who is coloring books for mid-level publishers, might have a big book here and there. Like not me and Pepe Larraz, or not me and Marte Gracia, but like, me and, someone else who's coloring books similar to like I color. I didn't consider myself drawing in this because I haven't drawn a book that's been released in a while. So first of all, how did you interpret this random ass question?
Just the way you explained it when you explained the poll.
Okay.
So is it, yeah. Do you draw inspiration or a sense of motivation from seeing stuff of people you like? The other one was this competition.
Yeah. So the way I think about competition, and the way I wrote it in my notes is, you would not recommend them for a job that you couldn't take. Like if someone's like, "Hey, do you know someone that can color this book?" and maybe I'm too busy, I would list a certain group of people where I would not recommend them for it, but I would recommend others. So there is a colleague or an equals part to that. So do
Yeah,
you, are you
okay. So there's different parts of that though.
right?
There's
I guess competition is
a list of people that I would not recommend because I don't think that they're up to a particular project. And
right,
then there's a list of people that I would not recommend
right.
because they're fucking assholes.
Yeah, but
Those are
also
two different lists.
the competition or the competition or the I wouldn't recommend them category also falls into the I'm always looking out for number one. And no one in the poll responded to this, and I don't think you and I are going to fall into this category, but I think there is a group of creators who fall into this category. Like, everything's me, I want that gig. I would never, like, I used to deliver pizzas when I was like 21, and there was always a dude who would come in and snake other people's runs because all he cared about was himself. He just wanted as many deliveries as possible. He didn't give a shit about any of the other drivers. He just wanted to make his money and go home and, whatever. So I think there are those kind of pros that just,
Okay.
they always look out for number one. I mean, but that's not, I don't think that's either of us. And again, no one did that on the poll, but I do think there is a contingent of that in our industry.
Maybe, and I would bet that it's certainly smaller now because of social media making the world smaller.
Right.
I'm convinced now, having experienced my own career up to this point, that not just simply not being a dick is a valuable commodity.
Yeah, you can monetize not being
industry.
Yeah, you can monetize not being an asshole. All right, so let's take this one at a time.
Let's do it.
Inspiration, just pure admiration.
Yeah.
I understand there are some creators that I think I feel this way about, and maybe you feel this way about. But do you ever? So when you go to a show, which I know you don't do that many shows, but when you go to shows, or let's say when you're doing the social hang after a show or whatever, do you ever get starstruck anymore to where you're like, I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to sit and listen because I don't feel like I belong in this conversation? Do you ever feel less than, to where you just don't feel like you can contribute, or you don't feel like you belong in a situation? Like, are you so in awe of anybody, or is there anybody you would be so in awe of that you don't feel like you could just hang with, even though we're all in the same business?
I don't know that there's a circumstance where me feeling lesser than, I guess, or an individual seeming to be just too big or important. I don't think I'm more likely to just not talk because I don't like talking. After spending 3 hours sitting across from Todd McFarlane and just talking about comic books and art, I don't think there's a situation that would present itself anymore where I'd be like, this is too much.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you'll find yourself at cons, like sitting across eating your catered lunch or whatever lunch they offer you, across from, like, fucking, Lando Calrissian or somebody, and you find out you're just saying like, oh yeah, crowd sucked today, or it's hot today. Like, it's just small talk. They're all the same at that point.
Yeah, and I think that people who move in this circle continuously, do it because they aren't jerk offs. I don't know. I think no matter who you are, especially in today's climate, somebody that is toxic or cancerous is going to be ostracized pretty quickly.
Yeah, like
so I don't know that I would find myself in the company of anybody that I would be reticent to talk to.
Yeah, I think if I was at like a table and it just happened to be like let's say Dave Stewart, Matthew Wilson, and Rico Renzi, like I know Rico, but like I don't think I would ever be like, or let's say let's take Rico out of it because I know Rico. Let's say like Elizabeth Brightweiser, Jordy Belair, Dave Stewart, and Matt Wilson. Like I wouldn't be hesitant to talk because I don't feel like I shouldn't speak. I would just want to keep my mouth shut so they could talk and I could just absorb if they're talking about the industry.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
If we're making small talk, that's different. But if they're talking about like who they work with and how they work and how they approach their work, I'm just going to sit back and try to absorb and get smarter.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was thinking too that in all the situations I've been in, I've never been in one where any of those people that I might have been starstruck by didn't reach out to me and involve me in some way and ask me about what I do or
right.
What's your deal? How do you do this or that or whatever? So,
right. Yeah.
No. I am totally a guy that sees colleagues as champions.
Yeah, it's almost sorry, Hank, I can't mute all the planes. I had a follow up here and it just spaced my brain. So I find it interesting then that the majority of the Twitter poll labeled them as inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, that means like you're so in awe of them, you don't know what to do. Do you think that's a good thing or
I don't
a bad
take
thing?
it that way.
Okay.
I'll take it as I consider most working pros better than me, and I have a list of people that I'll stop whatever I'm doing and take notice of the stuff that they're producing.
Yes.
And in the best of cases, certainly depending on one's own personality, you look at something that somebody has done. I'll stop and look at Ryan Otley's new Hulk stuff or whatever Kevin Nolan is doing or Pepe Larraz, and you stop and you go, this is amazing. And I think you get to a point too as people that do this where you don't see, that Captain America looks badass. It's
how did they do this?
Look at the curve on the shoulder there. I wonder if that was that one motion. What brush is that? And there's a picking apart, and hopefully there's a how do I do that?
Yeah,
and I talk about that a lot. It's not a copying. I don't want to draw that Captain America shoulder. I don't want to draw that same curve, but I like the way he handles form, right? I think his form is really strong. Okay, how do I make form one of my strengths?
Yeah, like I look at stuff like that, and like when a couple of weeks ago you shared that image of the Pepe Larraz Captain America, and you look at something like that, and I'm like, oh, how did he do the wings on the helmet? Because that's such a fucked up. It's such a weird character design. It's such an awkward thing to draw, for me at least. So I'm like, how did he do it? Oh, I see that he did this, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I should. So you dissect how he did it. You reverse engineer. How did he get to this? So he must have been thinking this. So maybe I should think the same way he was thinking, because it looks super cool on that guy.
Yeah, it's one of the things with any kind of art, and art being anything that's not strictly utilitarian and practical, right? So like every fucking thing around you is art. You know, those blinds behind me is art. This fucking table is art. Because because anytime there was a decision made just beyond function, when you get into form, then you get into design and art. So it's fascinating to me to take something apart piece by piece and go back in time and say, well, why did they decide this and decide this that led to this and this and this and this?
Yeah. Do you think it's not negative, but do you think it's detrimental to be in awe of the people you admire? So if you're just inspired by somebody, I guess inspired means you're not just in awe of them, but do you think it's detrimental to your career to just be like, oh, that guy's so good, I can never be that guy? To be so starstruck or so like wowed that you would never even attempt to reverse engineer.
You're never going to be that guy.
To reverse engineer what they do. Right. Yeah. So my thought is you should always, if you like somebody and you like their art, you should always try to do that reverse engineer to find out how they got, what is it you like about them? What is it that they did that you love? And then how did they get there? Like, don't ever be starstruck.
Yeah. I think that's something I battled with early on with Copperhead. Was I got it into my head that, oh, I'm never going to be, I'm never going to be Ryan Otley. I'm never going to be Stuart Immonen. I mean, why even get up in the morning? Why should I even put a pencil on paper? What's the fucking point?
Right.
But then I don't know, I got work, and then I got more work, and I keep getting work.
Shocking.
So there's something. So
you're doing something right.
The people that are making the decisions like what I'm doing well enough that I don't need to copy so and so. I just need to get better at being me. So whatever I'm doing, I need to keep doing it, but I need to do it hopefully better than I'm doing it now. Tomorrow I need to do it better. The next day I need to do it better than that.
That's literally my favorite thing you've ever said on this podcast. I love that. That's so true. I think I've kind of realized it too. It's like, I can't color. The word "can't's" not the right thing. I don't know if I could reverse engineer how Marte Gracia colors like X-Men. I don't know if I could figure that out enough to do a facsimile of that, but I could color those pages, I think, in a competent way. So I could do that job competently. I don't know if I could ever reach the heights of what I think he's doing on that book. But I agree. We'll put this topic to rest. But yeah, I don't think you should ever just be so in awe of like a Mignola to be like, I can never do that. Because you could always reverse engineer. You could always try to figure out how that happens.
Sure. And don't even, I mean, everybody learned to draw by imitating, right? I mean,
yes.
I can't tell you the number of times I copied the cover to X-Men number 16 and just over and over and over.
Is that a Kubrick cover?
It is, with Cable. It's part of the Executioner song storyline.
Is that the hymn?
Anyway, or Stormwatch number 1. I drew that a lot.
Yeah, the Jim Lee cover.
The Jim Lee cover.
Where he inked himself, which I think is a great cover. Is that is that Cable, or is that X-Men cover? Is that where Wolverine and Cable are like one's on top of the other and they're vertical? Oh, okay.
No, I'll send it to you. I'll look it up and send it to you.
Yeah.
So everybody learns that way.
You're right.
But if I don't know, if you naturally progress along the same lines, I guess that's fine. but nobody wants a clone, right? It's not that anymore. This isn't 1996.
Right.
Publishers don't want artist clones anymore. The market is diversified enough, and the fan base, I think, aesthetic tastes are diversified enough, and there's a large portion, I think, of the readership that just doesn't care who's drawing it.
Yeah.
That they don't want somebody that's going to draw exactly like Jay Lee, because if they wanted somebody that drew like Jay Lee, they just get Jay Lee.
Yeah, I agree. I will say that I do enjoy seeing new artists come up and you can see who their main influence is and then watch them.
Sure.
So Pepe Larraz is a perfect example of that. Is his first books were very Stuart Immonen-ish,
yes.
or I guess Stuart and Wade, very that style. But now Pepe is his own. Now there's people ripping off Pepe. Now there's, so it's like he followed this and then he just was like, oh, I'm as good an artist. I'm a peer with Stuart, so let me do my own shit. Let me contribute. Let me advance.
Yeah,
and now he doesn't.
And that's just a natural evolution of things.
Yeah. I agree.
That's where instinct comes over. Once upon a time you were having to think about, how would Stuart draw a hand? But you've done it enough times and you have enough experience that you don't think about drawing the hand anymore. You just draw the hand, and it's not the same as Stuart's hand anymore. It's your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a joke in there somewhere. Yeah. Like when I started drawing comics, I was like, oh, well, Bruce Timm and Mike Oeming draw this way, so I'll draw it this way. And then now I don't think about those two as influences anymore. But if you could go back 10 years ago, they were obvious, huge influences on me. So, but at some point you stop thinking about it and you're just like, oh, I've drawn a hand like this 200 times. And you stop realizing why you started drawing a hand that way, and it's evolved and it's changed and you start tracing stuff, but not me. All right. We're going to save.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, sorry.
Yeah. I don't, was it a quote? I can't remember now that style is just, it's something along those lines of style is the mistakes that you make, something along those lines. Nobody else makes your same mistakes, and that's how it's.
Oh, that becomes style. Okay.
Yeah, I think I just took a Neil Adams quote and inverted it, where
no one draws like you draw, and that's your style.
Nobody. His quote was something along the lines of. Style is just doing it wrong, or something like that.
Okay.
And that's a shitty quote. So I just went the other way, I guess. Maybe I just made it up. I don't feel like I did, though.
Okay. So let's jump over the I guess the most negative of the three aspects. We'll hit that at the end. Let's go to equals, which I think when I say equals, I mean colleagues. And this is what I think, and what I really want to focus on at this part of the conversation is pushing peers for work and being happy when peers get work, instead of being like, fuck, like I don't have enough work, I want that gig. But then if someone gets a gig, like, are you happy? Are you genuinely happy for them? Are you shitty? And it's a little different. I think you and I mean, it's different for every creator, but even for you and I think are on different sort of levels in our career. And so for me, gigs I'm up for, or gigs I want to work on, or gigs I hustle for, or whatever, I think there's a lot of people in that same sphere that I'm at. It's a much larger sphere than you. I'm the equator. You're up towards like the third or fourth rung from the top. So, and I hope that didn't sound shitty, that I meant that as a compliment. Because I'm on like the 15th rung from the top. So what I'm saying is, for me, I sometimes, and honestly, I sometimes have a hard time. Like if someone gets a gig, even if I didn't know that gig was available, I'm like, fuck, I would have loved to draw on that book.
Sure. Okay.
But this guy that I'm friends with, at least on social media, which I consider colleagues, friends, if we're on social media and we interact, We're friends. Sorry, everybody. So for me, I'm like happy for them because maybe they deserve more profile, or they deserve the pub, or they deserve the news, and they deserve the book. But selfishly, I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have got that book. Or it's mostly in coloring. Like, fuck, I wish I could have colored that book because it seems like a fun book and it's a popular book and people are talking about it.
Okay.
So why didn't I get it?
You got to delineate between the two things, between being shitty and being happy for somebody. Right?
Well, like, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I can't. It's not. I can't. You say, when you say I can't believe, it can go either way. It's like I can't believe he got that fucking job, or I can't believe that he got it.
So yeah, I guess I should say, when I say like I can't believe that guy got that work, that's the next topic we're going to cover. I'm talking. I guess what I'm trying to direct the conversation towards is the jealousy aspect, or the, you're I'm super happy for certain guys who get gigs, but then inwardly I'm like, fuck, I want that gig. I got bills to pay as well. I have this to do as well. So I'm not mad that they got it. I'm jealous that they got it. But I'm also happy they got it. I'm not happy that people are working. I want everyone to work.
Yeah. Okay. So I think once upon a time, there was probably a part of me that when I was not a working artist and I would go to the shop and you'd pick up a book, you'd be like, really? I can do better than this. And I don't think that part of me exists anymore now that I'm on the inside. And I described it this way. I was talking to another artist a while back, and he was congratulating me on Young Justice or something. And he had done some work at DC and wasn't, picking up more stuff. And I was like, it feels, that business feels like a game of musical chairs where creators just move around and get swapped, and accept that, like a typical game of musical chairs, there are less chairs every time the music stops, but in comics there are more players also every time the music stops.
Yeah, there's 4 dudes who always have a chair, and then there's 20 dudes fighting over 5 chairs.
Right. But the next time the music starts, now there's 30 guys.
Right. Over those same 5 chairs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm happy for anybody getting a paying job on whatever it is. There might be some, there are books where I'd be like, oh, I'd love to do that book, where it's like an innocent jealousy. It's not angry. I'm not upset that I didn't get it.
Right.
Like, oh, I would love to do, more Super Sons.
It's not like it's not like, oh, I think I could color that book better. It's like that book would be so much fun to color.
Yeah, no, I searching my soul, it's all on the up and up. It's a legitimate happiness for, somebody getting paid to do this thing that probably they've wanted to do their entire life, because I've been there and I know what it feels like to get that. And it's great until you do it, and then it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah,
it's so it's such a check. Comics are work. It's such a check though on your ego to be like, because I'm super happy, especially when I see guys get a job that I'm like, oh, that'd be so fun to work on. And then I see that and I'm like, oh, they made such different decisions I would have made, and they're so much better. Like, this is such a great experience to just like look at this comic and look at this art. That like it overshadows the few times where I'm like, oh, I would have liked to color that book, and I think I could have colored it better. But I'm also like I'm not gonna be an asshole and think like they don't deserve to get paid. Like they don't deserve to work. Like so there is a thing where like these are your colleagues, and maybe the word equals isn't quite the right thing, because there's so many levels to comics. It's not like baseball where there's like 4 levels of baseball. There's 30 levels of comics, so I can't call someone who's coloring the lowest selling DC book an equal to me, because I colored one Image book, like that's not the same work. But or maybe that Image book I colored sold better than the one book they colored at DC, but then they got another book at DC and I didn't get another high profile book, so they're doing better than me. But yeah, I don't berate anyone for getting work. It's just a personal, like, fuck, I would have liked to have that gig, because I think I could have killed on it. But I'm never like, I can't believe they gave it to that guy.
Yeah.
Like those gigs, and I'm not a saint. Like, that does happen, and it's few and far between, to where I'm like, oh, that looks like shit, and I wish I had that job, and I'm not going to read that comic. Like, that does happen, but it's super far. It's so few and far between. I just want everyone to get work. I want everyone to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they're coloring the lowest selling DC book, they're getting a higher rate than I am, and good for fucking them, because I want to be coloring the lowest selling DC book, because
if you're not doing this, you don't understand how hard it is.
Yeah.
To even get the job. It feels, and I'm really, really fortunate to be where I am. There's miles more security doing what I'm doing than in sort of the project work for hire field, where
Right.
everything is so fluid, and you may get committed to something and a project just might not happen because somebody just decides, I don't want to do it.
Right. Yeah, like a lot of times the work that I do, which I think I've said this before, I'm more appreciative of the people who hire me than I think I would be of Marvel and DC. Even though maybe a Marvel DC rate would be higher, the people that hire me are for the most part, are pulling money out of their own pockets to hire me. Like, it's a
Right.
love. They're doing it for love, but also that comes with the constant thing in the back of my mind, like, oh, at any point they could be like, hey, I got to stop doing this. I can't, because money or whatever. So I'm always like, I don't want to turn down gigs. Do I take this gig? Do I not take this gig? Because, and I'm always answering emails when people want to hire me. I'm always answering emails with, well, I'm booked up till September unless I'm not, like right. I'm booked up, I just agreed to another mini at a publisher. And so I'm like, wow, cool. I have work now through the end of February, which in my position is a luxury that many, many people don't have in our industry. Like, I have 9 months of work scheduled now, and I can take a breath, but I could have 9 months of work scheduled, or with 2 emails, I could have 2 days of work scheduled.
And that's like everybody along the line at every level. Right. So it feels like you always have to have plan A, but also have B and C.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody is like, yeah, I can do this, and maybe I can also do this and this. And then the people on the maybe projects are like, cool. And maybe if you can't, maybe this guy can. And so it's everybody forms this horrible like house of cards. Yeah. And the industry could just, it was one person sneezes and the comic book industry is just gone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the things I love seeing about your career as a friend and someone who, I don't want to use the word intimate, but is intimately more familiar with your career than most, is when you're working on something. I know, because I know you and I know how I would be, you're always like, oh, I didn't get an email yet about what's next. I didn't get an email yet about what's next. But in my mind, and I voiced this to you, is like something will be next, and something's always next because you're good. You're good at your job. You're good for the company. They love you. But yeah, it's even when you're 12 rungs above me in the comic book pyramid of freelancers,
Yeah,
it doesn't get much easier until that email comes.
No, yeah, unless you're a thing which is fairly recent in geological comic book time, which is a contract employee.
Yeah.
If you're not that,
yeah,
every job is potentially your last job. You couple that with every job being your interview for the next job. Yeah, it's crazy stressful, and it's yeah. But this is what we've chosen.
Yeah, you know? That's why we drink on this podcast. So I think you and I are super happy for the people. We're always happy for the people on our pyramid of level of work that get work. We want them to work. It's good for the whole industry. When more people get work, it's good for the industry.
Yeah.
When better work is put out, it's good for the industry. I want to read something here that I actually just saw on Twitter tonight as I was prepping for the podcast. And by prepping, I mean drinking Natty Lights. I saw that Jay Farber on Twitter in response to another tweet. This is a word for word tweet of his. Or word for word that he wrote. It's tempting to view people at the same level as you as competition, quote, and they are to a degree, unquote, but it's much healthier to view them as allies. And I thought that's the perfect way to say this is they are taking jobs that you would be up for. They're taking the same level of jobs that you would be up for, but don't get mad at them that they're on it and you're not. Yes. Because the rising tide raises all ships. Right. Everyone does better.
Yeah. Yes. And I think for me personally, I am genuinely happy for anybody that's able to get paying work. Anybody that's and anybody that is achieving most likely a lifelong personal dream of theirs.
Right.
You know, because this isn't, like I was talking to my kid the other day. Somehow we got into the discussion of becoming a firefighter. It's like nobody just becomes a fucking firefighter. You know, you go get an office job because that's what's available. You don't wake up one morning and just say, oh, I'm just going to go be a firefighter, I guess. And it's the same thing here. Joe Schmo is not going to wake up and just say, oh, I guess I'm going to send some of my samples to Marvel today.
Yeah. Yeah. No one wakes up and they're like, I'm tired of working in the mailroom at this law firm. I'm just going to draw Batman. You know, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I am genuinely happy for everybody. I think there is, I'm going to call it a fantasy because I don't think I've ever experienced it, where everybody gets to know each other and you're all really friendly and you pick each other up and you go out of your way to pat somebody on the back, right? And just be encouraging, and 95% of that is genuine and you do it because it feels good. But there's another 5% that says, this person is going to remember me. And, you know, if it gets to a point where they're offered a job they can't take, they're going to think, oh, Ryan was a nice dude. I like his stuff, but I have never been asked ever in my entire life. Oh, well, do you have any recommendations then if you're too busy? I think there's been a couple of times where I've offered up names unsolicited, but I've never, ever been asked. And I think it goes back to that point where, like you were talking about, where nobody really turns down work
Mm-hmm.
because things are just so commitments are just so tenuous a lot of times that if I legitimately could not take something because I was too busy at the moment, I would offer up somebody else 100%. I would pick a name out of the air, somebody that I thought deserved a chance to do it. But I've, to this day, have never been asked that question from a publisher or an editor.
Yeah, I sometimes get emails saying so and so referred you, and it's always great, whether I can do the job or not, whether I'm booked up or whether, there's sometimes where it's like I'm in a weird position to where I can't take an introductory rate as a colorist, but maybe I don't demand a DC rate as a colorist. So there's a lot of gigs where like, oh, so and so recommended you. What's your rate? And I tell them, and they're like, oh, well, that's out of my budget. That happens a lot. And but I'm always like super flattered for the email, and notwithstanding, I'm not talking about like people who have budgets or whatever, but just on a separate note, Tony Parker, friend of ours, Tony Parker, I get emails a couple times a year. Hey, Tony Parker recommended you. Are you available for this or whatever? Like he's a guy who always plays it forward, or that's the name of that. Pay it forward. He's the guy who pays
that's
it forward.
That's the Helen Hunt movie.
Yeah. Ooh, Helen Hunt. Ooh, mad about you.
Also Kevin Spacey.
I'm talking about Paul Reiser. Mad about you. Wah, wah. So we don't have to spend much time on this competition. Do you not push people, or are you actively campaigning against anybody? Because I don't think we are.
No, and I don't know anybody that does that. I'm sure it was a thing.
Yeah, and maybe it is still a thing in certain types.
I can imagine John Byrne being shitty about somebody getting something.
Yeah, but I don't think that I won't sit here and bullshit and say that like I don't look at certain people as competition because I feel like maybe we're on the same level, but I would never root against them.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes I'll retweet if somebody gets a gig and they're pushing a book, I'll retweet it even if, majority of the time, I know I'm not going to buy that book and I know that book's not for me, and maybe the person coloring it is not a colorist I love, but that person is a good person, and I'll retweet that fucking book and I'll talk up that book and I'll say it looks great. And it costs you nothing in this. First of all, a retweet costs you nothing, and saying nice things about work that maybe you won't even buy, or maybe you're like, that static image looks good, but I don't know if I'm going to buy the whole book at $4 a book or whatever it costs. It still costs you nothing to promote that book and be like, look at the cool shit this person's throwing down here. Like, and that's always, if you're on the receiving end of it, it feels fucking great. If you're the person doing it, it feels great. It feels good to, even if your retweet only reaches 5 fucking people, it feels good to do that for somebody else, because in the grand scheme of things, we are a tiny industry and it's a struggling industry for 80% of the people working in it. So why not all be, if we're not going to unionize and we're not going to be,
I was just going to say that this is the light version.
Yeah. The least you can do, the very least you can do, is promote other people's work on your social media feed. It's literally the least you can do. It costs you fucking nothing except to click on a mouse. So yeah, like this thought of like, fuck them. And some, not fuck them, but I'm not above talking shit about creators amongst my friends. But I would still retweet that book, and I would still be happy for the person who got that work. And I can be jealous of the person who got the work. I can want to have that job that person got, and I'll still retweet that tweet of that preview of that book, even though I want gig. I want that gig, and I think I could do that gig as well. Never better, but as well. I could do just as good a job, and I'm mad I didn't get the gig. I'm still going to retweet that preview because I believe in karma, and I just believe in, like, fuck, man, it's such a fucked up industry, and it's so tiny, and it's such
Yeah.
a we all have
Yeah.
it's a small half. We're like linebackers or running backs. We have 6 years in this industry at best to be good at what we do and to be known for what we do. And then you go like, oh fuck, man, Google. I just read it a couple weeks ago. Google how Marvel treated Herb Trimp at the end of his career in the 90s, and you'll find out that no one cares about you except your other creators. You know, like he wrote a diary when he was getting phased out at Marvel in favor of like the Liefelds and the Image guys, and it's fucking heartbreaking because 30 years of loyal service gives you nothing. All you have is your other creatives. All you have is your colleagues. So never shit on them, and never talk shit about them, and never not recommend them if you have a chance, even if they're not your favorite dude.
Yeah, yeah, that's I think about that a lot, that there's a shelf life. And it's I'm sure it's true of every entertainment industry. And that's what this is. This is not some fucking office job. This is not, working at a factory or something. This is essentially just like a popularity contest, and readers are going to vote like they do with movies and music. They're going to vote with their dollars, and if your book's not not drumming up as much cash as this other guy's book, then you know what, they're gonna do the other thing. And there is no loyalty because we're not employees,
Right. Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Yeah, like you don't see like in music you can be a one-hit wonder and ride off on that and then do a reunion tour 20 years later. There's no reunion tour. There's no reunion tour for us.
Yeah, they didn't keep Stan Lee around because he was a good writer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no like, I'm not going to be out of this industry. Like, let's say I don't get hired after tomorrow, which, as we mentioned, is a distinct possibility. I could wake up tomorrow to 4 emails and never work in this industry again. So if that happened in 15 years, I'm not going to run a successful Kickstarter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reunion tour for me. Like, it's a weird thing where you have to hustle nonstop, and you have to be happy for the hustle of others nonstop, because we all know you're 1 email away or 2 emails or 3 emails away from, playing summer festivals with Sugar Ray in like the desert.
Yeah. And I don't know. We in the big two, there's the buffer, I feel like, between the cold bean counting publishing arm and the talent, which is editorial. And it's been my experience that every one of those folks has a giant heart and a long memory, and they are going to do what they can to spread the wealth. And I think that's a big reason of why you see so many creative team shifts, is they do a thing which I don't envy, which is try to give everybody a piece.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be fair, and it's never going to be popular. But just the relationship you have with one person could be the difference between your family eating or not.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting there with a loaf of bread and you're the editor, and there's 50 ducks who want you to feed them, and you can only feed so many of them. Some of them are going to go home hungry. It's like that. Like they want to give everybody work, but they can't. So they have to dole it out where they can, or they have to.
Yeah, and they're in this horrible position of having a foot in both worlds, and
right.
the cold hard numbers and the just personal intimate people relationship part of the job. And so what they do is horrible and it's hard, and I can't understand how anybody can do it, but they're my heroes for sure.
I agree. If I was your editor, I would give you 2/3 of my work that I had available. All right, man. Any final thoughts on this, or how are we going to end this on a Posy show? How was
I guess what did we cover all three?
Well, we kind of skipped. Well, we kind of agreed that no one said competition. I mean, I posed this question to my brother, who has my brother has a full-time job but does art on the side. He also chose inspiration and camaraderie. I asked my wife, who's an attorney, these three options. She said I'm inspired by a lot of people, but I think of most people as my colleagues. So in no area did I see anyone click a button that said,
you have to be a real piece of shit, and it's a thing that only happens on TV.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to be a real, because I'm a piece of shit, and I still would not tell someone not to hire someone.
Oh, I'm also a piece of shit, but right. We're not the fucking whatever, the peanuts guy at the ball game who has to get to the next aisle before that other guy.
Yeah. 213 episodes in, we're both pieces of shit, but we both want everyone to get work when they can get it.
Totally.
And we're happy for them. We're not shitty about it.
No.
Even if I send you a message on Discord or by text and I say, I can't believe this book looks like shit. That doesn't mean I don't think that the person coloring the book that looks like shit shouldn't get paid his full rate and shouldn't be happy to have work. Because I'm happy when anyone in this every month that this industry survives is a fucking bonus month.
Right. Yeah. I know what it feels like to get that email or the phone call or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy that this person got to experience it.
You're the book killer. Nobody wants to be on a book that you're on.
That's me.
You're the book
Mr.
killer.
Albatross.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Superman 32 came out today. Or yesterday.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten my comps, which is a bummer because I just found out last night, flipping through an issue of the Batman Fortnite, that there's a Pride variant cover for the Superman 32. So I was keen to have that one. But, it's weird. I haven't gotten them. I don't know why.
That's weird. So your book came out yesterday as we record this, and you haven't gotten your comps yet. I got my comps for volume 3 of Family Tree a week ago, and that doesn't come out for another week. So
yeah, usually I get them a week beforehand.
Right. So if you're if you're not one of the cool kids, quote unquote cool kids, who are on the Patreon and listen to this early, if you're listening to this on Monday the 28th, whatever the fuck that is, the end of June, make your way to the comic book store. Well, I care. Make your way to the comic book store on Wednesday and pick up Family Tree Volume 3, and go ahead and pick up a Midnight Western Theater number 2 if your store carries it, from Scout Comics. I colored that as well over the beautiful, beautiful David Hahn, which I don't know if he's beautiful in person. I've never met him, but his artwork is beautiful. So yeah, I got 2 books out on Wednesday. It's never happened before, and it'll never happen again.
A curious little aside here.
Uh-oh.
You'll notice that most comic book artists draw characters that look like themselves, because we are the face that we see most often.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not an artist.
It's just interesting to.
Yeah, it's a good thing I do more color work then. All right, Scott, I'm going to mute my mic as another plane comes through. Why don't you give us some inspiration and send us packing?
Take us out of here.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Be good to each other and be legitimately, sincerely happy for every good thing that happens to somebody else. Chances are they deserve it. Being a piece of shit is rare, even though 100% of the hosts on this show are pieces of shit.